All right, welcome back to the dungeon where we geek out on all things horror, thriller, mystery, and suspense. It's been a while since I've done this. Can you tell? But we're going with it. What the hell?
Oh,
We,
yeah.
we have we have a returning guest. They just popped their head in here in the dungeon and see how things were going. I said, "Come on in." We have Renee DeCamillis.
Yeah, you
Did I
got it
get that right?
right.
I I
Yes, you
I
did.
remember. I remember.
Good
I
memory.
remember because I know the last last time you had you on. I know we did like I was practicing, but in like the warm up before we start recording, and we started recording. I did the intro, and I go and do it, and the first time out, I effed it up.
That's how it always happens, though, huh?
So, but welcome back. How you doing?
Thank you. Not doing too bad. How about yourself?
Oh, not too shabby. Staying above ground. I guess
That's
we gotta
always a
say.
plus.
Yep, yep. Better than the alternative.
Mhm.
So, but we are, or you are back here in a dungeon to talk about a new series of books with, I guess, another. And I'm sorry, I had my notes from last week. We were going to do this about a week ago, and I had an
Yeah.
emergency come out. And with all the other paperwork I had to deal with this past week, I don't have my notes. I can't find my notes, but I'll let you fill in the blanks.
Okay. I can do that, hopefully.
But you have a contribution to a series of I guess a series of books.
Yes,
Uh,
it's the Try Not to Die series from Vincier Press, and Mark, Tullius is, I think it's Tullius, is the owner of that. The owner and editor and writer and publisher.
okay, he's
Yeah.
men of many hats. But
Yes, he is.
now my understanding is this I remember growing up reading these small paperback books, and it was like choose your own adventure type of thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now is this what
Mhm.
my understanding is when I went through the book, at least the one that we're going to be talking about today, uh there are a variety of different endings. So
Yes.
depending on what you read a certain read a chapter, and you're given two or three um, choices at the end of the chapter.
Mhm.
And now that the copy I have is the online interactive copy, so all I had to do was choose what I was going to choose and hit on the link, and it goes to that chapter that I have to read next.
Right.
Now, uh, just for like trigger warnings, and Renee, you and I talked about this before we started recording. It's like this is on YouTube, and YouTube is really funky about how it deals with certain topics and stuff like that. But um, so just FYI, we are going to be touching upon what YouTube, or I guess the YouTube algorithm likes to call unaliving, even though I personally I hate using that word because it's like let's just call it what it is, and it's like
Mhm.
I'm it's like you ever see these things like where they think saying the word is going to cause something to happen, and you're
Yes.
I'm at a dinner dinner thing with family, and one of my did you hear about what happened to Aunt Margaret? It's like
Yeah, and they
just
can't say the word, yeah.
say a word, call
Right.
it what it is. So anyway, that's the game we have to play with YouTube So to get in order to get this word out here, because we want it's an important message and we want people to hear it, but we have to play by YouTube's I don't
Rules. I don't like
know
rules.
rules. I don't like rules either. I follow rules all my life. I'm old and it's about time I start breaking up. But anyway, it's we gotta do what we gotta do. So we're gonna be talking about anyway. We're gonna be talking about unaliving and it's we may touch upon essays, stuff like that. Depression. Are we allowed to taste depression?
I was wondering the same thing. I was going to say, can we say the D word, but that could be misinterpreted.
Yeah,
Uh,
we can't call it. Well, it's not this sad mood because you're not really sad. I'm gonna risk it.
okay. All right. We'll risk it. Well, I know it's weird because the whole point of writing this book is to open up more conversations about this, but
Right,
there's so many rules out there that people say, you can't say this and you can't say that. And it's like, how are we supposed to talk about things then?
right, right. So anyway, that's a long-winded way of me saying I'm long-winded. I guess I don't talk a lot, but when I do talk, I really like to lean into it. But anyway,
I do the same. So I get it.
so anyway, for those of you watching at home, that's your warning. Okay, so back to the book. Now this is now I gotta ask because when I first started the very first page I started reading, um, and it starts out with this like punk rock band doing a gig and stuff like that. And as I read that, I remembered your interview last time you were on, and it was like, how much of this book is you know based on like true events or personal events or something like that. It's like because I remember one thing we talked about last time you were here, or you being a guitarist and singer in a punk rock band. And here we
Hmm.
are, the very first page. We're in a we're at a gig at some club, and they're rocking out, and everybody's so anyway. How much of and not necessarily your own life or just maybe a life of someone you know, a friend, family member, or did you take, I guess, is inspiration the right word, or just take little notes from those people's lives or your own life to write this series? Because you had to come up with like I think 7 different endings, right?
That was the hardest part.
Okay.
Endings are hard. For me, endings are hard, but but yeah, the book is it's not autobiographical, but it is inspired by true events from my life, things I've experienced, and some things I've witnessed. Um, but I've basically went over a lot of writing the book. Um, First off, I wanted to apologize to anybody who reads it and gets triggered or is feels uncomfortable. Just writing it was hard for myself because it set off my own triggers. But like I said, I wrote this book because I think it's a topic that really needs to be discussed more openly, just for mental health awareness, and to help people suffering with these type of unaliving ideation, I guess I'll
Uh,
call it.
yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of it is inspired by true events, but I also had to fictionalize a lot. For one, to distance myself.
Mm.
And also, I don't want all my dirty laundry known by everybody. But yeah, it is largely inspired by real life events.
Okay. What is your response to people when they hear about what this book covers and their I guess their main concern is that because people say like horror movies glamorize violence.
Hmm.
So what would your response be to people who their initial reaction to, oh, you wrote a book about unaliving, or go choose your own adventure to, you may survive, or you may commit unaliving. uh what do what's your response when people say, oh, you're just glorifying unaliving people, or people unaliving themselves?
Well, if somebody says that, then I know they haven't read the book,
Okay.
honestly,
Or
because it does not glorify anything.
or
No.
even before they even bother reading the book, they just got, it's like, because people say shit about horror movies or movies before they
Hmm.
even see the damn thing.
Yeah.
So the people who never read it, and they're thinking, well, maybe I don't want to read it because it glorifies this. What's your rebuttal to that?
Then you're not my target audience.
Hmm.
That would be my response. If they already have a negative connotation looking at the idea of it, then it's not for them. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, to make an assumption before you know the whole story, that's just pure ignorance. And, maybe, and if somebody does say that, it could be their way of justifying why they're not going to read it. And maybe why they really don't want to read it is because they might see some of themselves in it, or it might hit some triggers of their own and they don't want people to know about that. And that's fine.
Yeah.
We don't need to know. You don't have to share it if you don't want to. Share it with only the people you want to share it with. You don't have to share it with the public, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I could see that, because I went through the same thing when I was initially diagnosed with cancer. This is like 20 some years ago, 20, 25 years ago. Um, but I found my circle of friends literally had to be redefined, because, you know, regardless of whether, and I could just be sitting in a room and not even talking about, cancer. But just the fact that I was in the same presence as them, and like, basically they didn't want to face their own mortality, and
Mhm.
just me being in the same room with them had that, mortality type thing. It's like, okay, this kid's might very well die, and they're being faced with it literally, because I'm sitting across the table from them. So yeah, I could see that there are some people that just, uh, it's they're not ready.
Yeah,
I mean, they are meeting they're meeting us uh, at the capacity that they could handle.
exactly. Yeah. And that's coming from a place of fear.
Hmm. So anyway, let's talk about some of these endings. Now, I did not get, I wasn't able to go through all the endings, but I did not get the impression that we followed just one person from this group. We have this group of bandmates, right?
Hmm.
And it seemed like it depended on what, yeah, just depending on what path you took, choose your own adventure, uh, to what bandmate you went with, and so like different. It seemed to me like different endings dealt with different people depending on what path you took.
Yeah, yeah, with different people, but it's all about the main character of Dahlia. She's the main character. But yeah, some of those decisions some of them bring her into contact with some of her other friends. There is a decision that she makes that brings her into a party with one of her friends where there are other band members there, but not from Dahlia's band, just other band members from the local music scene. Um, and I also included because of the theme of the book, I also included, in the wrong decision chapters that end in unliving. I also wanted to include loved ones' reactions, how that action of the person, the sufferer, how that action then affects the people left behind.
Mm.
And through that, I was trying to show that I was trying to show how depression can or does fill your head full of all these negative thoughts and all these negative ideas and negative um, ideas about yourself. And I was trying to show how a lot of those negative thoughts and all the negative thoughts Dahlia has about herself and about, how maybe others around her feel about her were completely wrong. Like it was her depression. It was all that negative internal dialogue making her believe all these terrible things that not all of those are true, like, or not to the, like, she was what's up, she was tricked, she was duped by her mental illness to think that way.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to follow up with it, on that because that's a good point. Because I know when I've dealt with, I've been through my, seasons of depression and stuff, like that, and it's incredible just the world view or the self view
Hmm.
of like can just be totally from the truth. Um, and you start to believe all this stuff that's just not true about yourself, or
Hmm.
and even more not true about how other people that that people don't care about you.
Right.
Don't go, yeah,
Yes.
nobody loves me, that type of thing. um
Yeah, and that's one of the things that weighs on Dahlia is, like you said, that nobody really cares about her. Nobody really cares about how she's doing, and she keeps on this thing of I have no friends, I have no friends, I have no friends. But she does. It's just that depression weighing down her, filling her mind with all this negativity and you know masking the world around her in just this dark cloud of negativity.
mm. Now, if if somebody's in that headspace, is uh, what kind of things can this book and depend, I guess, on what paths they take. And I recommend, when you read the book, I mean, if you take one path that you didn't like at the end, it even says in the book, try again. So
Try
keep
again.
keep trying. But if someone was in that depressive essay ideas, not essay, unaliving ideas, if they're in that headspace, would this book help them kind of give them a nudge to say, hey, no, look, people do care about you. Just look around. Take don't base don't don't worry about what your emotions or what your depression is telling you. Look around of who's really truly around you, your family and friends. Or do you think that they'd be so caught up in that headspace that it's like, oh yeah, that might be fine. Well, this is just fiction. That might be fine for somebody else, but that'll never happen for me.
Well, they need to read my acknowledgments in the end then, because I write the story from experience. Um, because when I was younger, when I was in my teens and early 20s, I had unaliving ideation. Oh, I almost slipped. um, and it was tough. And this isn't all fiction. That's why I had to put that in the end, because
Mhm.
I know I know how it is to sit on the other side of the desk from a counselor and think, how can you say that when you've never experienced it? You've never been in my shoes. So what the do you know about where I'm coming from?
Yep.
And I know, because I've been in counseling many times. I've dealt with depression off and on throughout my life. I've been on that wanting to off myself. And so I know. And it's coming from a place of truth and authenticity. And that's why I knew I couldn't completely fictionalize everything. I had to include real stuff because of the topic and because I know how that depressed mind works. And I knew people would say, like you were saying, what if? I know, and there still will be people that say that.
Yeah.
I
But
know there
but
will be, but
somebody who's actually
whatever.
going through that, they'd know they would know if it's bullshit or not. If what they
I think they would be able to see if it's bullshit or not. Yeah.
it's like, okay, well yeah, that's like I don't know, I'm not doing a correlation between the two, but like somebody's that's dealt with drugs or something like that, where
Right.
if
Yeah.
somebody says, well, someone who never dealt with drugs and they were trying to pass themselves off as someone to do that. Well, I know what it's like. And this guy, well, do you? I was like, yeah, and it's like so people who say that they need to be careful because when you're telling someone who actually going through that, they're gonna know whether you're full of shit or not.
Exactly. Yeah. They're going to know.
So about 10
Well, and
minutes.
another big reason why I wrote this, well, Mark invited me to write it. It was totally his idea. He invited me to write. He had invited me to write a book in the Try Not to Die series, and I was brainstorming ideas of what I wanted to write about. But then he came to me with this idea because of my character from Chisel the Bone and the Bone Cutters. She's suicidal, and I said the word, sorry.
Oh,
She is depressed and deals with those unaliving thoughts, um, and has attempted more than once. And so Mark knew I could write this, um, but he didn't know. It's a tough subject to write about.
yeah,
But
yeah,
based on how I wrote about it in the other books, he thought I could handle the topic well. And what made me say yes, even though I had already had a main character, I already had a protagonist with those emotional issues. I said yes because he asked me like 2 or 3 months after I just lost a friend, a very good friend to unaliving.
hmm,
Um, and I knew I had to write it. I wrote it. Well, the book is I wrote it partially for him. Um, it's in memory of my friend Joey,
hmm,
and but I also wrote it for me, as my own form of therapy, and for everybody else out there dealing with this depression and these thoughts of just wanting to disappear, just
right.
disappear yourself and be gone, because it's tough. And when I was like that, one I didn't tell anybody. Um,
Mm,
and that's one thing with this book that makes me feel a little uncomfortable. I don't know. It might seem weird, but I feel more comfortable with strangers reading it, because I never told anybody. I never told anyone when I was going through it. Um, the guy I was dating and living with at the time is the only one who knew because I was living with him, and I had to tell my mother. Um, um, but yeah, so it's not easy to talk about.
No.
I mean, I'm a lot older now than when that happened, so I think that's a more distance from it. So I think that's why. Maybe that's why, or maybe it's because I lost friends to this. Because Joey's not the first person I lost to this. He's the second friend I lost to this,
Mm.
and I also lost my stepfather to this, and it sucks. It really sucks,
It does,
and
yeah.
it's something that people need to be able to talk about it because I very well could not be here right now, you know? Um, yeah, so it's
Yeah.
it's tough. But that's why I wrote it. I wrote it to help me. I wrote it, and my friend Joey, who's very my husband grew up with him, and I became a good friend of his through my husband. And um, we had lost touch with him over the last few years of his life because of the dangerous lifestyle he had chosen. Um, and the last conversation I had with him, um, we butted heads on that because, even though I contacted him to check in on him and see how he was doing and let him know we were worried about him, all his depression heard was, "What you just, no, no, all my friends abandoned me, and everybody thinks I'm a loser," and he just all this negativity, and it's like, I'm here checking in on you. I'm here
Yeah.
telling you we worried
Yeah.
about you. Like, no, I'm a friend. I'm here. No, everybody's abandoned me. Nobody cares, and it's just I couldn't get through to him. And the last thing I had said to him was, "We're really worried that next thing we hear about you is that you're dead." And that's what happened.
Wow.
So, you know, I guess when Mark came to me, I was more thinking of my friend Joey than myself at the time. And I just jumped on it. I jumped right on the chance to write it because I needed to write it. I thought I needed to write it for Joey. Um, but I also really needed to write it for myself. And, seeing the whole big picture of it now that it's all done, I needed to write it for a whole community of people that deal with this. Even people that don't deal with it themselves, but maybe a loved one of theirs. They're dealing with a loved one of theirs who feels this way, and they don't understand. They don't understand. I've talked to many people, especially after losing my friend Joey, and some people will just be like, "I just don't get it. It's just come on, come, really?" And it's like, and I've talked to people who worked in the mental health field with that kind of attitude, and it's like, come on, some sensitivity. Come on,
Yeah.
so try to understand, you know. And I couldn't say no, and you know I I wasn't there for Joey in the end. But now my book is there for him. You know.
And yeah, and many people that are in that I don't know, in that whole looking for a way to get out. And so and what actually I had a thought of something that while you were talking, um that I wanted to bring up, that just for everybody watching, uh the we talk about the whole unaliving thing. And a lot of people may think a lot of people may think of just the active, because I know, because my therapist asked me, was like, like, do you have a plan? Do you have the means? That type of thing. Um, but one thing that I know I've dealt with, and I've talked with my therapist about, is um, it's I don't want to call it active. I forget the name it's called, but it's like it's basically passive unaliving idealation. It's like, okay, I don't I don't want to take it upon myself to do it, but if something were to happen that would cause me to, I'm not gonna run away from it. That type of
Hmm.
thing, you know. Uh, for for example, I mean, uh, I'll give you an example. I have sleep apnea. I have a machine here that I'm supposed to use. I don't, mainly because I can't sleep with the damn thing stuffed in my face.
Yeah.
But there are times there's like, okay, well, I'll go to sleep, and yeah, if my attitude is like, well, yeah, if I die in my sleep, then I took, yeah, I didn't have to worry about doing any of this or whatever, and the sleep apnea took care of it for me, that type of thing.
Hmm.
So
Well, that's a great example of um, to talk about people who live dangerous lifestyles because they don't care if something happens.
mhm,
They're just like, oh well, life sucks anyway, so what do I care? I'm just gonna live and enjoy myself to the fullest, and if it takes me out, then good. Then I don't have to deal with the stress of life anymore.
mhm. So yeah, so writing this book, uh, not only for for your friend, but for yourself. So I guess what has things changed, or has the landscape, as far as unaliving and stuff like that, and the things that you had the triggers that you were dealing with in writing this book, uh, have things gotten better, or where have you come since writing this book? I guess we'll leave it at that.
Um, well, I'm able to look back on a lot of the troubles I've gone through, a lot of the traumas I've dealt with, and I know it might sound cliche, and some people who've been through trauma don't like to hear this. Um, but what don't kill you makes you stronger. And a lot of people I've had friends actually who've dealt with trauma, and they don't like to hear that because they're still dealing with it. They haven't unpacked it all. But it's really true. Um, since my attempt, I just really see life a lot differently because during my attempt to rid myself of being alive, I had my first ever out of body experience. Um,
Mm,
and even though like I was filled, what led me to that place to try to attempt that was I just felt like nothing would ever get any better. Things had been so worse, I mean, things had been so bad that things couldn't get any worse, and that things would just be a constant struggle, and they would get harder and harder and harder. But in that out of body experience, I like saw all these potential futures, all these different things that could be. But if I'm not here, I'll never know. I'll never know if that could have been. If if I have a lot of I'm a very ambitious person. I have a lot of goals. I've always been that way. And I saw things like I will never know if I can do X, Y, or Z. I'll never know if I'll reach that goal. If I do this, if I follow through this with this to the end, and I put down my weapon of choice and I was like, fuck this. Like, no way. I am a total mess, but I am not taking every possibility out of my hands. And I had just lost so much, and I'd have to rebuild. I had to rebuild, and it's a lot of work. Um, but seeing those potential futures made me realize that nobody really knows what tomorrow will bring. And where I initially saw pain and loss and struggle, I began realizing that change is inevitable. I had the power to change, and not just change myself, but change my situation. And that power really comes in the decisions that we make. Like, life can dish out a bunch of bullshit on people. I mean, gosh, if my life played as a movie, you'd see like life has kicked my ass. It has had me in the ring and beat the shit out of me. Um, but I'm stronger for it. And I don't I know it doesn't sound right to say this. Some people could take this the wrong way, but I think I went through that for a reason, um, to make me stronger, because life still dished out a bunch of shit to me since then, and ever since that day, I vowed that I would never let myself get to that point, to get that low that I wanted to just be gone. Um, and and I'm happy to say I've never had that thought to ever do that to myself again. I've never had that thought. I mean, yeah, sometimes, you know, people close to me might hear me say, "Oh, my life sucks," but that's just me venting in the moment. You know what I mean? I'm just
Hmm.
venting because things are tough. Um, but I've never thought of harming myself since that day. Never again. And it hasn't been easy. And I didn't, and I think it's important to say that I didn't do it alone.
Hmm.
I didn't get through all these years since that attempt alone. I've gone to counseling a number of times throughout my life. I've done, I've learned tools to help my to deal with to have a better mental health, to have a better mindset. I've learned coping mechanisms and things to do to get me out of that funk, the negative funk, not the good funk.
Yes.
um, but, and I don't want, it's not easy. It's not easy. And since then, my life's been rough. Not gonna lie, it's been rough. But all the struggles, and all the hardships have made me who I am today. And I mean, you'll ask a lot of people that know me, and they'll be like, "Damn, that chick can deal with anything,"
Mm.
because I've dealt with so much crap. Um, and I get a lot of scars. But you know what? I wear them all with pride. Every scar has a story, and I've earned them. I've earned them.
Mm.
I've earned every last one of them. Um, and what's I think the important thing, for people to realize is that it's you can't do it alone. I have still to this day, I don't like to ask for anyone for help, well, for any kind of help. I don't like to ask for help. I like to be independent. I'm always like, I can do that myself. I don't need somebody to help me. I can figure it out. No, I'm an independent woman. I can do this.
Mm.
But we're social creatures, and the biggest thing that helps is to talk about it. You've got to talk about it. And that's what hurt me when I was younger, is that I didn't talk about it. And the healing doesn't start until you open up and talk to someone. Well, I think it's important to mention that this book is a charity novel, and proceeds from the sale of the book are being donated for mental health awareness and unaliving ideation support and prevention. Um, and it's being donated to a local Maine agency called the Opportunity Alliance, and it's being donated to their Maine's mobile crisis hotline,
Okay.
um, to support other people dealing with these same issues. Because that's what the book is. The book is really trying to drive home the point of seeking help. Talk to someone. That these are It's a heavy topic. It's not easy to talk about when you're dealing with it, but that's the biggest, most important thing that anyone dealing with this can do. And like I said, I didn't start getting better until I started talking about it. And I had mentioned I've been through counseling a few times in my life, and it's helped tremendously. But I also went even further, and I got my degree in psychology. I worked in the mental health in the mental health world to help others dealing with this as well. And I also needed to learn more about myself,
Mm.
more just about how I'm fascinated with the brain. I'm fascinated with how people think and why people think the way they do and why they do what they do. And so it's really important to learn more about yourself and to talk to others. And the message I want to send with this book is that you can make it, that you can survive. You can make yourself happier. You can make your life better. You have the power of discovery and the power to change. You have the power to change your life and to change yourself, to change your situation. And help is always out there to help, to guide you, to inform you of resources, to help you improve your situation. A lot of people don't have family. Some people don't have family to talk to. Some people don't have friends, or they don't have people they trust.
Mm.
And a lot of people, like I was at the time, I didn't want to talk to a stranger about it. But like I've told you about this book, I kind of feel more comfortable with strangers reading it than people in that know me, that are loved ones who have been with me my whole life or most of my life. Because talking to someone outside of the situation is very, very important. And a big message also I wanted to tell people is that, we're all in this together. Life is tough. I mean, life is a fucking bear.
Yeah.
I mean, and well, I think it's really important for people to know that if you know someone struggling with their mental health, or if you're struggling with your own mental health, the most important thing to do is reach out and talk to somebody. And it's not easy when you're the one dealing with it, but it's the first step and the most important step to take. And if you don't have someone in your life that you trust, talk to a stranger, talk to a mental health professional. There are resources out there, and if you're reaching out to someone that you feel is having mental health issues, listen. That's the most important part, is to listen. Because a lot of times someone that's suffering with depression and wanting to off themselves, they just need someone to listen. And sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
And you just talk to someone and unload it all. And I know it sounds cliche, but after that conversation, you will feel like a weight has come off your shoulders. And it might not, it's not a big fix, but it helps. And it's the first step and the most important step.
Yes, I want to emphasize two things that you touch on is number one, even talking to a stranger, because
Hmm.
not that a stranger like a stranger or well, a stranger that you trust, uh,
Yes, yes,
but or you know mental or professional, uh,
yes,
and not to say that uh, I would say this is like kind of the flip coin of these people don't have any emotional investment.
right,
If you talk to a friend or a family member or stuff like that, they're chances are they're going to try to coddle or soften or and that may be what they're telling you may not be the truth, or may not be the truth that you need to see at the moment. When you talk
right,
to a stranger that you trust or a professional, I'm not saying they don't care about you. They do, but they don't have that attachment. So the thing that they're going to tell
yes,
you is a third party, unbiased, and what they're going to tell you is what you're going to need to hear. It may not
hmm,
be happy to hear. I mean, my therapist told me things that I didn't like, but
same.
luckily, I've seen her a long enough time, and she's done a good enough job that I had to, she helped build, make me see the self awareness in myself. So when she
Hmm.
did tell me those hard truths, I had the self awareness of like, yeah, you're right, I do that, and
Hmm.
that's where the getting better and the change comes in. And I want to touch upon when you're talking about if you're talking to someone who's thinking about doing this, because I've had, and you said one of the best things you do is listen. Um,
Yes.
that is true because, and I want to, I guess, warn, I guess, and caution people who, if you're talking to someone, a loved one, a friend, a significant other, or something like that, who's thinking about they're having these ideation of doing this. Because I've had people tell me this, and it sure in the hell didn't help. Is please don't say, "Well, it could be worse," or
Oh my gosh.
other people have it worse.
Yeah, no,
Don't
bad.
don't
Don't.
say that.
And
Don't
don't
say that.
say, and also don't say, just get out and go for a walk. It's gonna make you feel so much better. And it's like, yeah, that might help a little bit, but it's not when you're spiraling, you're no. Oh, you'll get over this. You'll get
Yeah,
over this.
yeah.
No, no, it's not that easy. It's not,
No,
oh, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's another one.
yeah.
No, it's not that easy.
It's not. So yeah, it's so I just wanted to emphasize the whole listening bit.
Yes.
You ask them how they're doing. Shut the fuck up and listen.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
I mean, if you're asking them the question, "How are you doing? How are things? How are you holding up today?" Just listen to whatever the answer is,
Yep,
however long
exactly.
the answer is. Just be there with them
Mm-hmm.
and listen. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Very important.
So Renee, when does this book come out?
It comes out on September 10th, which is World Suicide Prevention Day.
Well, Renee, thank you so much for popping back into the dungeon. Glad to have you
Yeah,
back.
thanks for having me.
And I'm glad you're here with us on this in this crazy world we have here we have to deal with. So
Thank
we're glad you
you.
stuck around. So
Thank you.
and so again, Renee, is it Renee S DeCamillis at .com?
Yay!
Okay.
You got it right. Yep.
All right. And there's no periods or dots in there or something like that. It's all
Not for my website. There are no dots. No.
okay. So it's all one run on name.
Yes.
Renee S DeCamillis. And again, we'll have a link on the show notes of this video down in the doobly doo. And while you're down there, subscribe, like, whatever, whatever YouTube tells you, wants you to do, whatever. You know what to
Like,
do.
share, and subscribe.
Yep.
And click the notifications.
Yep. So, Renee, thank you so much. And and until I guess until your next book comes out. Yeah. Do you have anything coming down the pipeline that you have working on right now? That
I am just finishing up a tech horror novel called The Eye in Every Hand. And it is about a mind reading punk musician who starts seeing digital waves flowing from cell phones, mind controlling the masses, making people obsessed, angry, and violent. And he uses these gifts to try to clear his father's death certificate of unaliving and, and to find and reveal the who and the why behind the apocalyptic iPhone conspiracy his father was murdered for. It's an apocalyptic cross-genre tech horror thriller. Oh my gosh, multi-genre. I should just say multi-genre. It's a novel about the dehumanization and destruction of our species through the obsessive use of cell phones and the internet.
And yet another punk rocker character in this one.
I know.
So,
Yeah. Musicians are in all my stories. I can't help it. I've been a musician since I was a kid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I remember taking a writing class, and that's one of the things they tell you is like write what you know. I remember that was
Write
one of
what
the
you know,
mantras.
man. And what the one I like better is write what you can't stop thinking about. I like that one too.
That was a good one. Yeah. All right. Well, Renee, thank you so much for being with us. For all you out there, if you able to get this book, if you think you're able to read it, please read it. If not, go to one of the links and help the local resource center there in Maine. And yeah, just remember, it's there's just like the multi-ending adventure. Just don't call quits yet, because you never know what the future has in store for you.
Right? Just like it says, try again.
Try again.
Keep trying.
Try again. All right. Well, thanks again, Renee, and I guess
thank you.
Goodbye from the dungeon, and thank you everybody for watching, sticking with us. And we'll see you next time. Bye.